I just saw a portable version of the Lakovsky coil, but I want to also add something here, another twist. They say one of the biggest problems with the economies is demographics. Actually, there's an aging population. They say it's a major problem, especially in Japan. Now, the Japanese, they pretty much know all about herbs. I don't know if they all take them, but they're fairly more commonly known in Japan and China, like something like Gotu Cola. Something that is touted to be for longevity because it lengthens the telomeres on the ends of the chromosomes. And astragalus is another one, which is also antiviral and anti-cancer, and supposedly also a longevity by lengthening the telomeres on the chromosome. So when the cells divide, they don't lose that information. That's the aging. Basically, the telomeres are like a little safety edge on the chromosome so you don't lose the information in the DNA when the cells divide. But the Tesla coil that I showed you with, well, actually it's a Lakovsky coil that utilizes Tesla coil, has reputed to be, at least from experiments back in the 1930s, to be anti-aging. And, well, reverse aging or make people younger and all this type of stuff. It was touted to be like reverse gray hair, reverse baldness, and all this other stuff. And it did things. Well, I don't want to make claims on it, but that's what's been reported. But it was used in a number of hospitals and things like that. But I started thinking about this, and one of the biggest economic problems out there is the demographics. It's that there's an aging population. But say, for instance, the new 60 is like now 90 or something like that. What happens? What happens to the demographics? The productivity goes up, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It's almost like people are 60 or 35 or whatever the hell they are, by using these methods. Actually, I think the Japanese largely are totally unaware of the Lakovsky device. I think they're largely unaware of it. This is one of the biggest secrets out there. And actually, it's become very recent that a genuine Lakovsky device has come to surface. Now, what that's supposed to do is, maybe it's not the energies itself coming from the device itself, but probably what's going on is it's exciting energies around us and directing them to the body. But they have legitimately observed that that device has caused people to heal that were thought to be goners. They were terminally ill. It was observed in major prestigious hospitals by, top-notch doctors back in the 30s and 40s. It was mainly used in Italy and France, and I think it was used in one or two hospitals. It was definitely used in at least one major hospital in New York City for some period of time with great success, until Lakovsky himself was hit by a limousine in New York City, and the device was taken out of that hospital. But, I started looking at it from another angle. Another angle is the demographics. The demographics actually is the major predictor of, when the real long booms and busts are going to be. It's like when they had the baby boom after World War II, when that group of generation was growing up, and was in their more productive years per se, as in a certain age group, say a certain age range, is actually when the United States was really into higher productivity. Now that group is retiring supposedly, but what would happen if that group of people, or the group of people that are in Japan that are aging, are subjected to these older devices that are, anti-aging, these devices that are anti-aging. Now, I have a cat in here, so if you see a little bug, it's one from my cat. My new cat is in here, man, and it's got warm here in Florida. It was like 80 degrees here the other day. Anyway, so, we're in the summertime again. But, and actually, I think this device actually probably lengthens the life of things you don't want it to lengthen, too. Like, things like insects. But anyway, the thing is, if the demographics are changed, and there's another really super strong thing about that, it's actually like, if you take the person, as the person's, a person grows up, whatever, they don't really know too much until like they start getting in their teens. Then they start picking up on stuff a lot more. And then, like it's like when they really in their 20s, they start gaining stride. And then when they're in their 30s, they got a good amount of experience. And it kind of comes out to where the experience is the main thing, and not the energy and the new creativity is the main thing. That actually is what makes them more productive later on. But say, for instance, a person's lifespan, productive lifespan, was increased by 30 years due to some means like the Lakovsky coil. Just put it out there as a theory. What would happen to the numbers as far as the gross domestic product and all the economy and stuff? Wouldn't it go way radically up? Because you're taking the life experiences of these people, and besides that, they can teach other people. They can teach other people. Now, isn't that a novel idea? Isn't that a novel idea? See, this is one reason I am totally against. I see an actual major other economic cost to pharmaceutical medicines, because they might bring your blood pressure down or your cholesterol down or whatever, or get rid of these symptoms, but they seem to have so many side effects that the people, excuse me, they tend to, maybe I'm allergic to this cat, who knows? God, we'll find out. But they tend to actually, bring down their productivity. They bring down their productivity because it's, they're having these medicines and it's keeping them alive, but it's not actually making them more alive. It's keeping them alive, but it's not keeping them alert and alive and productive. So that's really the real problem to a lot of these pharmaceutical medicines. Taking the approach where you strengthen the body and the body overcomes the problem is a much better way. And that's the natural approach. Now, a lot of times these herbs aren't strong enough. That's the problem. It's like, they do no harm, but sometimes you need a sledgehammer to fix the problem that is whatever it is on the person, and that's where they need the pharmaceutical meds. But I like the approach of the Lakovsky coil using the Tesla coil that's incorporated within it, that it strengthens the body, seems to strengthen the body radically. And, it may not pick up that well in the United States. I think the only way that would pick up well in the United States is if you had, Angelina Jolie come out and say, yes, I am using a Lakovsky coil to this and that. If it's endorsed by Hollywood, then everybody in the world freaking falls over and takes it. But, they say, oh, I have to have it, But, if it's just tell them the truth, most people ignore it. It goes in one ear and out the other, or they hear it and they forget about it. But I think in Japan, they're largely unaware of this device. Now, this could actually probably be a savior for their economy, because their aging population could probably become more vital and productive. I mean, when you add vitality and productivity and more innovation and alertness to the experience and knowledge that they have, wow, that's a hell of a winning combination. But besides that, when you're keeping people like that know the stuff and know the different areas of expertise that they've been in, they have that much longer to teach it to new generations. So that's that's a big economic selling point as an aggregate selling point for this Lakovsky coil, if the theory holds up. I personally think the theory's sound. I do. So, to me, it's a subjective observation. I always had pretty damn good energy anyway. I work out like 2 hours a day. I stopped doing 3 hours a day. It was getting crazy. 2 hours a day is enough. There's a lot of people saying an hour a day is way plenty. But 2 hours a day is plenty. And, I use this thing for an hour. I use this thing for 3 20-minute sessions, the Lakovsky device. And it seems that it gives me a lot more energy and alertness and everything else. So, but when they're talking about demographics, they're looking at a number, and they're saying, hey, once the population hits 55 or whatever, it's going into retirement, or 60, it's retirement or whatever. Well, say it wasn't retirement. And, I'm not saying like, servitude, slavery, but I'm saying, they could be doing whatever they want to do, because anybody that was a highly productive person, they could be doing anything. It could be in a world of finance or accounting, or it could be in a world of welding and mechanics and roofing or whatever. But if they have a lot of experience in that area and they still feel like they got loads of energy, you add the loads of energy to the experience, and you guess what? That's a hell of a lot of productivity out there. That's a hell of a lot of productivity. And the other thing is, like I said, they're around that much longer, and they have that much more energy too to teach other people what they know. Because, you know, could you imagine if everybody from 20 years old on up just disappeared off the face of the earth? You know, actually the main knowledge of what goes on and how to work all these, you know, high-tech things is actually with older people, isn't it? And actually the older they are, the more experience they have. It's just that they're getting countered by, you know, feeling less vital. So actually this Lakovsky device could actually improve the economy. Isn't that crazy? Nobody has thought of this from this angle. But, you know, if this video ever gets over to Japan, it gets a little bit of, well, maybe I don't know if the video itself or the idea gets over to Japan. They might take upon it themselves and build a lot of these Lakovsky devices. Now, the one I showed is a portable one, but I think it still has some pretty good effect. It's not as good as the original. The original used 3 spark gaps. It had a Tesla coil on it on each. There was 2 coils. There was a Tesla coil on each, on the sending, transmitting coil, and there was one right by the receiving coil. This has 1 coil, 1 spark gap. But, you know, I could still feel this sort of like breeze coming off it. I could still smell the ozone, the good type of ozone coming off of it, and it still feels like it gives me more energy. So it's got some kind of effect, you know, and that device is not that expensive. So if you want, you know, that's something else to think about, because you know, I'd hate to make, you know, something where put people's expectations up too much, but, you know, I actually think that device is well worth the money. I think it's well worth the money. And I got that from, you know, not to say, you know, advertise for it, but I got it from, where did I get it from? I got that one from amazingone.com, and they're made in New Hampshire. I like it. I think it's fantastic. You know, might be a cool Christmas gift. Who knows? But then, you know, again, I don't know how many of these things that little place can put out. You know, if they had a bazillion of them being sold, they'd probably be overloaded with orders. But I'm not selling for them. I'm not selling for them. I'm actually telling you from my heart that I think that thing, for the money, is top-notch. It's a freaking fantastic idea, fantastic concept. And if actually everybody, I think where it's actually going to gravitate to, or mostly, is in Japan. They just don't know about it that much yet. But if the Japanese as a whole actually knew about that, from what I understand about Japanese, they would gravitate to that thing, and they'd all have them. They'd all have them. They'd all have them. And you would see a bunch of extremely vital 60-year-olds out there, and all of a sudden Japan would become the the big, powerful industrial powerhouse they once were again. And all the demographics won't mean anything, because I think the old people are going to go a lot younger. In the United States, they need to have it endorsed by Hollywood usually before people freaking pick up on it. You know, unfortunately. You know. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there as a novel idea, because, you know, nobody's thinking of this. You know, they're all looking at the demographics and demographics and demographics. Actually, you want to think where, you know, if all the people are much more healthy, the demographics are all pushed up 30 years, right? Right? Sounds crazy, but people could be 90 years old and, like, they could be highly productive probably. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, you've seen little examples of this, like the 100-year-old guy or something in India some years ago running a marathon, correct? I mean, there's some examples of it, but generally that's not the rule, but that could be the general rule. And just think about not just the productivity, but what they instruct the next generation for that much longer in all the knowledge that they have. Is that not very important? Oh, hell yeah, it's important. It's something where they're looking too much at the numbers and they're not looking at the obvious, you know, lengthening and making the lives of people that are experienced, productive people more vital actually is a big, big boost to the economy by not just their productivity, but what they teach others. Is that not true? Is that not true? Something the Illuminati aren't thinking of course. Of course they aren't. You know, they're just thinking about other things. But, you know, that's not me. I think outside the box. And to tell you the truth, this could be the solution for a number of decades to all the world's problems as far as productivity, innovation, and the demographic problem. Big time. It could be the solution.